There's a guy out there worth around $25 billion who owns more ships than most countries have warships, controls a massive chunk of global trade, and almost nobody knows his name. No interviews, no podcast appearances, no Twitter, no YouTube clips, nothing. If you walked past him on the street, you wouldn't recognize him. And honestly, that's exactly how he likes it. His name is Gianluigi Aponte. And once you understand what this guy built, it kind of changes how you see wealth. Let me explain it in a way that actually hits. Right now, think about everything around you. Your phone, your laptop, your clothes, even the chair you're sitting on. At some point, all of that was on a ship. Not a truck, not a plane, a ship. Because around 90% of global trade moves by sea. And Aponte built a company that sits right in the middle of that system. His company is called MSC, Mediterranean Shipping Company. And today, it's the biggest shipping company on Earth. Not second, not top 5. Number 1. Bigger than Maersk, which used to dominate this industry for decades. And the crazy part? Most people still have no idea MSC even exists. That's the first thing you need to understand about this story. This isn't loud wealth. This isn't look at my Lambo wealth. This is quiet, system-level power. The kind of power that doesn't need attention to exist. Now here's where it gets interesting. Because this didn't start with billions. It didn't start with investors throwing money at him. It started with one ship. Just one. Back in the 1970s, Aponte bought a single vessel. No empire, no fleet. Just a guy, a ship, and a decision. And here's the move that changed everything. Instead of trying to compete with the biggest players, he avoided them completely. Think about that. Most people, when they start something, they go straight for the biggest opportunity, the biggest market, the most attention. Aponte did the opposite. He went where nobody was looking. Smaller trade routes, regions that weren't fully developed yet. Places like parts of Africa, the Middle East, secondary ports. At the time, these weren't considered big money routes. But they were growing. And more importantly, they were ignored. So while everyone else was fighting over the same major shipping lanes, Aponte was quietly building connections in places nobody cared about yet. And that's such an important lesson. Because by the time everyone else realized those markets mattered, he was already established, already trusted, already moving cargo. And this didn't happen fast. That's another thing people get wrong. There was no overnight success here. This took decades. Years of slow expansion. Adding ships, building relationships, reinvesting profits, no hype, no shortcuts. And then the world changed. Global trade exploded. Everything became more connected. Demand for shipping went through the roof. And suddenly, the exact areas Aponte had been working in for years became extremely valuable. So while other companies were trying to expand into these regions, he was already there, fully set up, already operating, already dominating. And that's how, in 2023, something big happened. But barely anyone talked about it. MSC officially became the largest shipping company in the world. They overtook Maersk, a company that had been on top for decades. No big announcement, no celebration. No look at us, just business as usual. Now let's talk about the scale for a second. Because this is where it gets kind of insane. MSC operates over 700 ships. 700! These aren't small boats. These are massive container ships that carry thousands of containers each. Each container filled with goods moving across the planet. Some countries don't even have navies that big. Let that sink in. One private company with a fleet larger than military forces. And behind all of it is a guy who avoids attention like it's a problem. No social media, no public speaking, no documentaries. Even finding recent footage of him is difficult. And that's not random, that's deliberate. Because here's something most people don't think about. Attention comes with a cost. The more visible you are, the more people watch you. The more people question you, the more pressure you're under. Governments notice you, media follows you, Competitors study you, but if you stay quiet, you move differently. You build without noise. You expand without people constantly reacting to you. And that's exactly what Aponte did. Now yeah, let's be real. He lives a crazy lifestyle. You don't build something like this and live normal. He's based in Monaco, one of the most expensive places on Earth. There are reports of luxury yachts, high-end properties, serious investments. But here's the difference. You don't see it. There's no Instagram showing off his life, no YouTube tours of his houses, no day in the life of a billionaire. Nothing. Because he's not trying to impress anyone. And that's where his mindset is completely different from what you usually see. Most modern wealth is visible. People build personal brands. They want attention. They turn their lifestyle into content. Aponte? He built infrastructure. And that's a completely different game. Because when you control infrastructure, you don't need attention. You don't need followers. You don't need validation. You control systems. And systems don't care about hype. Think about it like this. If social media disappeared tomorrow, influencers lose everything. But shipping, trade, logistics, that doesn't stop. In fact, it becomes even more important. And that's why this kind of wealth is different. It's not based on trends, it's based on necessity. MSC isn't just moving products. It's part of the backbone of the global economy. And Aponte didn't stop at shipping. That's the other thing. He expanded. MSC moved into cruise lines, into logistics, into controlling more parts of the supply chain. Because the real power isn't just in moving goods, it's in controlling how those goods move. If you control shipping, you control timing, you control access, you control flow. And when something goes wrong in the world, supply chain issues, global disruptions, that's when companies like MSC become even more important. Because everyone depends on them. Now here's the part that makes this story actually interesting. It's not just about money, it's about how he thinks. Because Aponte represents a completely different type of billionaire. There are the loud ones, the ones you see everywhere, talking, posting, building brands, and then there are the quiet ones. The ones who don't need to be seen, because what they own speaks for them. And usually, the quiet ones are playing a longer game. Because when you're not distracted by attention, you make better decisions. You're not reacting to trends. You're not trying to impress people. You're just focused on what works, and that's rare, especially today. Everyone wants fast results, fast growth, fast attention. But the biggest empires, they take time. Aponte didn't rush anything. He didn't chase visibility. He just kept building, year after year, decade after decade. And now, he controls one of the most important systems on the planet. Think about that. There are people with millions of followers who couldn't move a single container across the ocean. And then there's this guy, moving thousands of them every single day. And nobody talks about him. That's kind of crazy when you really think about it. Right now, somewhere in the world, there's a massive ship cutting through the ocean, stacked with containers. Each one carrying products that are going to end up in stores, homes, entire economies. And there's a very good chance that ship is part of his company. That's the level he's operating on. Not influence, not fame. Control, and maybe that's the biggest takeaway from this whole story. The most powerful people in the world aren't always the ones you see. Sometimes, they're the ones you've never even heard of. And honestly, that might be the smartest way to play it. Because when nobody's watching, you can build something that's actually untouchable. And Aponte, he figured that out a long time ago. Now here's the thing. He's not the only one, not even close. There are families, investors, entire networks operating the same way. Quiet, strategic, under the radar. And once you start noticing them, you realize something kind of uncomfortable. The world isn't just run by the people you see online, it's run by people like this. And in the next video, we're getting into one of them, a Saudi prince. Almost no media coverage, but way more influence than you'd expect. If you think this was interesting, just wait till you see that one.